she's not gonna. No, she's not gonna make us.
You don't need to tell your mother what I said. Get back on this screen. Turn your camera on now! Send them out of the room! Send those two girls out of that room! Now! Don't say a word, just send them out of the room. Oh, and go ahead and put yourself on mute now.
George, are you handling my case?
I'm handling everything except for the labor and sex trafficking matters.
Yeah, I got the sex trafficking thing.
What is it now?
I've got the sex trafficking case.
Hey, Manny, how you doing?
We already have bond. I just need to get it reduced to make it match what another identical case got. It's just different judges and massively different results end up.
They have, I think there's three co-Ds on this matter.
Right.
Terrence Miller from our sex trafficking unit will be on. Should be on at some point, Manny. So
I can cut it short, George. He objects, so let's cut to the chase. As to
whatever that may be, brother.
There's Mr. Miller. All right, we've got.
Just for the record, I'm going to reference a defendant, State of Georgia versus JING, last name LI. The accusation number is 24 PI 008235. She's actually got one additional count than what I have for the exact same issues about the RICO trafficking people. And she was given a bond according to the Fulton County system.
Let me reach out to Terrence real quick.
She's on here too. She's number 19.
All right, let me take care of Mr. Fortis real quick because we have one in Cobb County. Milton, Bostic, you ready? We're gonna take care of number 2 because Mr. Fortis is here. He just has 1 case. You ready, Bostic?
Yes. What number you said? 8 or 6? 8.
No, number 2.
2.
Yeah, because that's Mr. Fortis's case. So we're gonna try to take care of him first.
Where is Mr. Fortis?
Right there.
Oh, there he is. Okay. I need to open up my screen. There it is.
I gotta make that court reporter co-host. Okay. All right. So this will be number 2, Montavious Jamal Harris, position 2, 24 PI 006414, 82 days without indictment as of September the 2nd. There's no bond on hijacking a motor vehicle, first degree, 2 counts of financial transaction card fraud. Wow.
Just sorry. Wait a second. Sorry.
Bostic, it's our last night of night court. Come on now.
Judge, I gotta clock back in. I had clocked out because I wasn't doing anything. Mr. Harris, open 10 cycles, 24 PI, open case 007869, theft by receiving 2 counts. And then 23 CP 219916, Flynn and Loon, failure to obey, reckless driving, obstruction, DWI, DUI, driving with a suspended license. Then there's Cobb, hijacking, theft by receiving, street gang, 2 counts, theft by taking. And then there's 19 SC 166095, theft by receiving, 2 counts, sentence on the same day as 19 SC 166319. Street gang, theft by receiving firearm during pistol under 18, sentence 4 years, 6 months. And then there's a whole out of East Point for a stolen car for warrant 52724. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Portis.
Yes, Your Honor. Before the court is Mr. Harris. He is 23 years of age. He's been here his entire life. He resides with his mom. He has 2 sisters, 2 brothers. He has 4 children. The age ranges are 1 to 10. He completed the 11th grade at Douglas High School in Atlanta. And when he's out and the job is still there, he was working at UPS in the packaging warehouse off of Fulton Industrial. And he had been there prior to his arrest for about 10 months. Judge, this is an interesting case because I was able to pull the preliminary hearing transcript. And while I don't want to get into too much of, the facts of what was going on, but there was an incident, but my client was not identified at the scene. There were multiple co-defendants. that allegedly took a car from another individual. And then what they did was in the affidavit for arrest, they were tracking the vehicle, like where it was going, as far as they saw it, like, for example, on Cascade Road. They saw it in multiple convenience stores. But the irony of it is that when Mr. Harris was at a convenience store with someone else and they had the cameras out on the car, it was on his car. And as they scoured the area, the other car was nowhere in sight. So the individuals that he was with, I don't believe that they had anything to do with it. I don't believe that they're able to identify Mr. Harris. They were not able to put Mr. Harris at the scene. There was no identification. The only way that they ended up putting him at the scene is that sometimes later when he came into the convenience store, allegedly, one of the individuals was using a credit card that was from the victim. But that doesn't necessarily put him at the scene. He was just met up with individuals at a later point in time. But the key piece to the evidence, Your Honor, is that the vehicle was never seen anywhere where Mr. Harris was. And that was evident during the cross-examination at the preliminary hearing. I know the charges are serious. My client does not know the victim. What I would be asking the court is for a reasonable bond. I know he has some history, but this is not the case. I would ask the court for a $40,000 good bond.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Judge. Based on the ALA factors, at least until December 1st of 2024, the defendant should not be granted bond for the following reasons: that he is a risk to reoffend, that he is a danger to the community, he is an A and C recidivist here, certainly in Fulton County, has a prior conviction for hijacking in the second degree in Cobb County, has 2 open cases, and is a known gang member. And so, while certainly we have an opportunity to litigate the facts of this current charge, a case before this honorable court, he is not a good candidate for bond until his 90 days are up. Once those 90 days are up, and if his case is not indicted at that time, the state will request that his bond be in count 1, the hijacking motor vehicle, will be $150,000 cash only, and $10,000 cash only on the remaining charges against him, for a total of $170,000 cash only, Judge. No contact, and any other terms and conditions the court deems appropriate in this matter.
And Judge,
Mr. Ford, is he going to live in the city in Fulton County?
he does not need to live in the city. And Judge, I mean, any conditions you want to put on that bond, he'll be glad to take. This is just not the case where he was seen there. I mean, I understand what Mr. Jenkins is saying, and we go way back, but this is just not the case on identification on this particular case. Regarding the other cases, we'll deal with those as those come up. But the presumption of innocence stays with him throughout this process, and he's presumed innocence, and they're going to have to put him at the scene.
Well, I mean, is he not going to live in the city? Is he going to live in Fulton County, though?
Mr. Harris, give me a thumb up if you have to live in Fulton County. Okay, that's a yes.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 1977 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. That's the Texaco. Also stay away from 3515 Camp Creek Parkway in East Point. No further contact with Lakeelia, Lakeelia, Marsh, Marsh, and Sakinya, SakiYna, Peets, Peets. No driving unless your bond is modified. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by you, sir, with a 24-hour curfew. The only reason you leave your house is court, lawyer, and medical. That's the absolute only reason you leave your house. Make sure I got everything. I'll do 100,000, 10,000, and 10,000. Best of luck to you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Ford. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Judge. Have a great holiday, okay?
All right, you too.
You too,
All
Mr.
right.
Jenkins.
All right, Counselor, good to see you.
Mr. Poole, does your client need an interpreter?
My client is Mr. Joseph, and he does not need an interpreter. Miss Zinn does, but Mr. Aurora is representing her these days,
Okay.
Judge.
I got you. All right. Position 6, Bostic. All right, so Mr. Interpreter, if I go too fast, let me know. Bostic, don't forget about the interpreter.
Yes.
It's 24 PI 006126. It's Quinn, Quin, last name Zen, Zhen, 92 days without indictment. As of October 14th, there's a $1 million cash bond. I got violation of the RICO Act, trafficking for labor, and trafficking for servitude. Rah.
Only prior arrest is for consultation and keeping a place that was null pros.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Aurora. Don't forget about the interpreter.
Yes, Your Honor. As you pointed out, it's been 92 days without arrest. There have been multiple cases involving sort of these massage parlors, and I'll stop there. We had a full-blown hearing where I've got the transcripts and the issues in the case. This case involves two victims in their 40s that answered a WeChat advertisement and then came to Atlanta. They had their cell phones, all that stuff. But I think the judge back in October made a tremendous mistake, and it seems almost like it varies dramatically from judge to judge, where we were found to have met all the Ayala factors, but the judge in no way, shape, or form ever considered the ability to pay, which is also a factor when deciding on bond. And all this is outlined under OCGA 1761E2, which states the court has to consider an accused's financial resources and income in deciding on bond if the Ayala factors are met. And to essentially prove the severity or disparity between magistrate judges in Fulton County, an unrelated case involving a defendant with the last name Lee, L.I., 24 PI 008235. That person had identical charges to Miss Zhen. In fact, that person had one additional charge that Miss Zhen doesn't have and received an $80,000 bond, which I've shared on the chat with all the parties. Similarly, an unrelated defendant with similar charges with the last name THAO with the case number 24 PI 005598. Again, the same charges, got a $30,000 bond. So, Your Honor, I'm just trying to, get some competence going here as far as looking at what somebody can pay. And so we're asking for a similar bond in the $80,000 category, ankle monitor, if the court so desires. But I don't want to go through the Ayala factors since they've already been met. That's sort of a moot point at this situation, but I would ask for a substantial reduction in bond so we can actually post it. And again, it's been 92 days. So I wrote all that down in my October 15th motion to reduce bond, so I'm not going to repeat it, Your Honor. I would simply just ask you make it somewhat similar so we don't have such drastic variances between judges and how they interpret certain cases. So I would ask for like a $80,000 to $100,000 bond so we can actually post it, not just sit in jail indefinitely. And so I'll just reserve any time the court will allow me to rebut if the government has any issues with my request.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Yes, Your Honor. I was unable to see the bond for Mrs. Jinping Lee that was reduced to 80,000 with the case number given by counsel.
It's a booking number 2419371, if that helps. I just got this off Odyssey here, Your Honor.
And what's the date on that, counsel?
The date is 11/8/24 when it was filed in.
So, Your Honor, for the case number that's before this court, Mr. Lee has a $1 million bond. 500,000 of that is for the RICO count, and that is a cash bond. So I'm not seeing the 80,000.
It's a different defendant. Lee is not involved in our case. It's identical charges, but it's a different indictment or case altogether.
Okay.
I'm just comparing $1 million by one judge to 80,000 by another judge. Seems quite disparate.
Okay. My apologies, counsel. I misunderstood.
8万，一个是100万，好吗？不是这个李金平，他的也是100万。
And Mr. Miller, that one is 24 PI 008235.
And the second one, Your Honor, just, I think I mentioned about Sittigan, his last name is Thao. Again, completely unrelated case, but same charges, I guess another sting operation. 24 PI 005598. That one's at 30,000.
So, Your Honor, on this case, Mr. Kang Powell, who's in the case number that was referenced by defense counsel, he is actually connected to this case. And Your Honor, his bond reflects typically his level of possible culpability at this point in time, which is why his bond is $30,000 compared to the other 3 defendants that are on the calendar tonight.
In the other case, Jing Lee, Mr. Miller, that one's 80,000.
Yes, Your Honor, I do see that one. That person is not connected to this case, so I'm not aware of the facts of that case and the circumstances as to why that bond is set at that amount for that particular case. In terms of a bond reduction, they have been in custody past 90 days with no indictment at this point. It's, I think, 92 days at this point, Your Honor. However, Your Honor, based on the information we received from the detective and the allegations and the complexity of the network involved in these charges, the state does believe that they do pose a danger to the community. Based on the facts of the case, Your Honor, it did appear that Mr. Kang Powell was renting apartments located throughout the metro Atlanta area. And this is where Mr. Joseph and Mr. Quinn Zinn would use proceeds from commercial sex activities conducted in these apartment complexes in order to pay the rent and to accumulate funds. Mr. Kang Powell was arrested once he became aware of the officer's surveillance of these activities, and as he was attempting to flee, that is why he was arrested earlier this year, along with a John who was located in one of the apartments earlier, as opposed to everyone being arrested at one time. And also based on the detective surveillance, it also appeared that Mr. Lee was transporting women from the airport to the apartment complexes to work on behalf of Quinn Zinn and Mr. Joseph. And so, Your Honor, I explained this to show just the level of culpability or alleged culpability with each co-defendant. However, given that they've been in custody for over 90 days without a bond, the state would agree for a bond reduction. The state would defer to the court as to the amount of the reduction, but would ask that the conditions remain the same, and that'll be an ankle monitor, no contact with the victims or co-defendants. We would ask also for a 24-hour curfew and stay away from the incident location.
Mr. Aurora, is your client, is he planning on living in Fulton County? Is she planning on living in Fulton County?
Corey,
Her daughter lives in Sandy Springs. I would imagine that's where she's going to live. Her daughter's a college student at Georgia State.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 814 Roswell Circle. Have an ankle monitor paid for by the defendant with a 24-hour curfew. The only reason she leaves her house is court, lawyer visits, or to go to the doctor. No social media. No communication with any communication apps such as WhatsApp, etc. Must surrender a passport to Mr. Aurora upon release.
Your Honor, I don't want to interrupt you. The Roswell police already has her passport and
法
all
官大人，
other
我不敢
documents.
打扰你啊。那个 Roswell 警察已经把他的那个护照拿走了。
All right, well, she's not getting it back. No working at a massage parlor or any sort of spa. That includes running or owning. No further contact with any other witnesses. All right, so, I mean, I think $1 million cash is a little stiff.
我觉得100万的现金是有点高。
So 50,000, 50,000, and 30,000. Best of luck to you, ma'am.
Your
好，
Honor,
好运女士，
Your Honor, is that a regular bond then?
Yeah, that's a good bond.
这是一个普通的保释金吗？是的，普通保释金。
and Your Honor, for the record, that address is 814 Roswell Creek Lane.
Roswell Creek Lane. I apologize. I can't read my own handwriting. Ma'am, you have to keep that ankle monitor charged 24/7. That means that you can barely walk out the front door of where you're going to be staying.
Your Honor, could we have 24 hours to get the ankle monitor so I can use property to bail her out and then get free at last or somebody to put the ankle monitor on.
Yeah, it goes to second chance bail bonds is the ankle
Second
monitor.
chance. Okay.
Right. I think they come to the jail and put it on her though. Don't they do that, Mr. Jenkins? Bostic, do they come to the jail and put them on?
I think so. If you're required to have an ankle monitor, I think they put it on before you're released.
Yeah.
Yes, they're usually on before
法
they're
庭要求你要戴那个脚
They,
环
I mean, they can
的话，
do that,
然
provide
后
that
跟法官
service.
讲
Yes.
会来到监狱，连到那个拘留所帮你装上才能被放出来。
That was the prior practice.
All right. I just didn't know how to pay them until she gets out to have a credit
我
card
就
or something.
知道要怎么付
That's
钱
what I，was asking for.
没问题。这是我就是问
Even
这
12 hours after she gets out, I can get it done.
I'm pretty sure they don't like require money then. They'll probably send a bill, Mr. Rohr. If there's any
他们
problems.
不会收你现金的，一定是给你记账单了。
But we'll figure it out, Judge. Thank you.
All right.
去想吧这个事情。
Thank you. Best of luck to you, ma'am.
好，祝你有最好的运气啊，女士。
All right. Let's see. Thank you, Mr. Rohr.
Right. And if it's all right, I just wanted to see what happens with the co-defendants, if that's okay, since they're all sort of connected.
Sure. Ms. Kim.
好，金女士，
Right. Ms. Kim,
Yes,
I understood
Mr.
you wanted to be in front of another judge instead of me, but let's try this. Let's see if I can make you happy.
I hope so, Judge. I hope so. In the spirit of the holidays.
Position 19, Milton, I'll take this one so that we can get rid of the interpreter and then we'll do the rest to the other two at ACDC.
No problem.
All right, position 19, Bostic 24 PI 006126. This is Jinpei Lee, J-I-N-P, last name Lee, L-I. 92 days without indictment. As of October the 14th, there's a $1 million cash bond, trafficking a person for servitude and trafficking a person for labor, violation of the Georgia RICO Act. Rah.
No priors.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Lee.
好，那个
Ms. Kim, sorry, Ms. Kim.
Judge, my client is 72 years old. Judge, he retired 2 years ago.
2年
He's
前
a very limited means. He retired from being a cook at a restaurant, a Chinese restaurant. He was there for 25 years. He wasn't a chef, he was a cook. So at this point, he does not have much by way of finances. He does own his home in Norcross, though. Judge, he's married. He has one son and a granddaughter. They all live with him at his residence in Norcross. Judge, he's been a U.S. citizen since 2013. He's more than willing to relinquish his passport to the court if granted hopefully a reasonable bond so that he can get out and get back to his family. And Judge, again, as pretrial mentioned, he has no criminal history whatsoever. Judge, I am asking if you would give him a hopefully very reasonable bond that he can afford, that he can make. And Judge, I understand he's most likely, like everyone else, going to be on ankle monitor in this case. And I understand that he has to make that monthly payment. I think it's $250, $350, I think, a month for the ankle monitor. I'm asking if you would consider $10,000 on each charge for a total bond of $30,000, something that is attainable, that his family can't afford.
Ms.
And the
Kim,
final thing is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kim, is he related to one of the alleged victims?
No, he's
他
not.
有没有
He
跟
doesn't know them.
受害人是有亲戚关系的？没有。
And Judge, I believe on this fact pattern, he's probably low person on the totem pole in terms of the facts, in terms of his role in this.
All right, you ready for the state?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, correct. Mr. Lee's involvement in this matter is alleged to have been transporting women from the airport. There's also information that alleges that Mr. Lee was also dropping off supplies for these women at the apartments in order to keep the alleged services going. It's our understanding that he was acting under the direction of the other two co-defendants, Ms. Quinn Zinn and Mr. Joseph. Given his lack of criminal history and his portion of culpability in this matter, the state would not oppose a reduction for Mr. Lee, Your Honor. We would ask that the same conditions be set in place as they were for Ms. Quinn Zinn as well, however, Your Honor, in spite of that reduction.
Ms. Kim, was his passport also surrendered to the police?
It was not.
护照是不是已经交给
It
警
was
察？
not. His son has brought it every single, apologies, his son has brought it in every single time we showed up to court. So I can get that from him tomorrow if he's able to get a bond or as long as he can afford it, hopefully.
No drugs unless
He
prescribed,
can-
no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons, no further contact with your co-defendants, Quinn Zinn and Janot Joseph. Stay away from 814 Roswell Creek Lane. No working or owning or participating in any type of activity at a massage parlor or spa. Must surrender your passport to Miss Kim. No social media or use of communication apps such as WhatsApp. Apologize, that's Truman in the back barking. All right, let's see.
Your Honor, the state would also ask that he not participate in any rideshare services or provide any taxi services to anyone.
All right, no participation or use of rideshare services or taxi services with anyone, for anyone. Is he going to live in Fulton County?
No, Judge, he owns his home in Norcross.
All right, he needs to stay out of Fulton County unless he's here for court or to see his lawyer. Sir, you do not come to Fulton County for any reason unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer, period. You're going to have a ankle monitor paid for by you with a 24-hour curfew. The only reason you leave your house is court, lawyer visits, and medical appointments. So I'll do a good bond for $50,000, $50,000, and $30,000. Thank you, Miss Kim. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Judge. May I be excused?
祝你好运，
Yes, ma'am.
金先生啊，祝你好运，李先生。
Let's see. All right, Jennifer Norton. Can anybody get in touch with Shannon Guest?
Yeah. Yes, Judge, I spoke with her. She said that she thought someone was covering for her, but she'll hop on.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's see. So we got Jennifer Norton, position 17 and 18, Bostic, 24 PI 004, 814, 139 days without indictment, $19,000 good bond as of October 30th. Then we got 24 PI 004, 815, 139 days without indictment, $19,000 good bond as of October 30th. Got one count of armed robbery, and the first one was hijacking a motor vehicle, first degree. Wow.
She has a hold in Marietta for robbery 7-10-24, 6 cycles of terroristic threats in 2018. First offender sealed in 22, open case 24 PI 004816 for theft by conversion, nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Gibson.
Yes, Judge, it's Miss Knowlton. She is 37 years old, born and raised in the Atlanta area. She does have a good address where she lives with her 4 children in Clayton County. And she has an 8 and 11-year-old that really need her back home. The 11-year-old suffers autism and requires a lot of care by Miss Knowlton. And that child has since been left in the care of her 17 and 19-year-old, as well as her grandmother, Miss Banks. So with her ties to the community, she is not at risk to flee, especially considering she will have to go to this hold in Cobb and answer for that prior to ever going home, which is why we will be asking for a considerable reduction in her bond today so that she can get started on handling that Cobb hold, since it's been 139 days without indictment and with a bond that she cannot afford. Miss Knowlton is a high school graduate. She went to the Everett Institute and is still going there trying to get her medical assistancy certificate. She works at UPS off Fulton Industrial. She's been there for over 5 years. She also does DoorDash and works seasonally at Spring Halloween just to make extra money for her family. I do believe that the evidence will later show that Miss Knowlton was not involved in these incidents in the way that the police reports allege. I would ask that her bond be reduced on each position to $5,000 respectively. So $10,000 total, $5,000 on position ending in 4814 and $5,000 on position ending in 4815, so that she can be transferred to Cobb County to then deal with her hold there.
All right, 4 South, booth 3, set up straight. 4 South, booth 3, set up straight. We're not sleeping. Go ahead, Mr. Jenkins.
Very briefly, Judge, we request that you deny defense counsel's motion in this case. Position 17 and 18, she already has a bond. We believe it's reasonable with the assertion of the type of offenses, that one being a capital case and the other being a serious violent felony, that she has an active hold in Cobb. And so as her bond, and she has one, is appropriate, we request you to deny defense counsel's motion at this time. No reason to reduce it.
Position 17 ending in 4814. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons, no driving unless your bond is modified. Stay out of Fulton County. The only reason you darken the doors of Fulton County is court or to see your lawyer. Absolutely no other reason to come to Fulton County. Stay away from 1500 Riverwood Lane in Roswell, Georgia, which is in Fulton County, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. You have a 24-hour curfew. The only reason you leave your house is court, lawyer, or medical. That's medical for you or your children. No further contact with Isaiah Madison or Frederick Jackson. Isaiah Madison or Frederick Jackson. $15,000 good bond. On position 18 ending in 4815. No drugs unless prescribed. No alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. No further contact with Lucien Octavian, Octavien. Stay away from 895 Holcomb Bridge Road. Stay away from your co-defendants, Isaiah Madison, Raymond Madden. No driving unless your bond is modified. Stay out of Fulton County. The only reason you darken the doors of Fulton County is court or to see your lawyer. Don't get gas, don't get snacks, anything. All right, you have a 24-hour curfew. The only reason you leave your house is court, lawyer, medical for you or your children. $12,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, Ms. Guest is here, so back to Jasmine Worthens. Thank you, Ms. Guest.
Judge,
Yes, ma'am.
that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Gibson. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. I hope to see you in live court soon.
You will. Thank you.
All right.
All right, position 10, 24 PI 006041, 95 days without indictment. As of 9/11, there's a $30,000 straight bond on aggravated assault. Pre-trial.
Judge, in regards to Miss Worthen's 16 cycles, misdemeanor violence, simple battery in 2019, simple battery in 21, battery family violence in 21. There's a Sharon Worthen and a Tamika Jackson, our victims. There's a simple battery criminal trespass in 24, 7/30, 24, 12 months. There's a criminal damage to property in 21, first offender sealed in 24, nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Guest.
Yes, Your Honor, and I apologize about my tardiness. I thought that someone was going to be covering for me, but Mrs. Worthen is 29 years old, and she does have a valid address where she would reside. That is an Atlanta address, Your Honor. That's an address where she would live with her mother. We would ask that any stay away from the county of Fulton County be lifted, Your Honor, as Mrs. Worthen would only have that address to go to that is in Atlanta, Georgia with her mother. She's a lifelong resident of the Atlanta area. Since being in jail, she has lost the job that she originally had. She did work in the service industry prior to being incarcerated, but does believe that if she's able to get a bond that she can make, that she would be able to return back to that line of work. She's graduated the 12th grade, and prior to this incident, she was trying to obtain her cosmetology degree. Currently, she did not know the alleged victim. I believe that this is an incident that occurred at a room home that she was at, Your Honor. So there's no issues with staying away from the victim or the alleged incident location, Your Honor. I believe it was a woman on the rise location, but Mrs. Worthens does not need to return back to that incident location. She does presume her innocence and does believe that if these allegations are to be found out to be true, she does have a self-defense element to this charge, Your Honor. We're asking that the bond be reduced to $15,000 at this time.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Judge. Very briefly, we request that you deny defense counsel's motion at this time. We believe the bond that she has is appropriate, given the defendant's criminal history in connection with crimes of violence, though being misdemeanors. She also has pled guilty to two offenses, two cases here in Fulton County this year in state court. We believe she is a danger to the victim in this case, alleged in this matter, to the room and house, the location of this incident in and of itself. And she's likely to reoffend that. And she caught this case, although there are allegations in August. Will be, if she were to plead guilty in this case, it would be a third conviction here in Fulton County this year. And so as such, Judge, the bond, $30,000 is appropriate. Thank you, Judge.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 5735 Stonewall Tail Road in Atlanta, Georgia. Does she have any items there that she needs an escort to go back?
No, Your Honor, she does not need to go back to that location.
All right, no further contact with Tawana, Tujuana Casson, Casson. And, excuse me, no further contact with Tawana Casson or Evelyn Anderson. All that is common spelling. Ma'am, you have a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical. That's the only reason you leave your house, court, lawyer, medical. $25,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Guest. All right, let's see. Miss Kinnebrews not here yet. Marietta, or I would take you. What about, let's see, do I have Joseph, Jeanette? Nope.
And Your Honor,
Judge.
that matter would be more of a consent, just to mirror the Quinson's bond, which is the 50, 50, and 30 with
All
the
right.
same conditions.
Is he here? Joseph, Jeanette, wave your hand. He's not here. Are you okay with that, counsel?
I am, Judge. Mr. Miller and I have negotiated that sort of after further
After I rattled off the other two. All right. So
and
for
so-
24 PI 006126, Jeanette or Janot Joseph, it will be no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 814 Roswell Creek Lane. No further contact with M. Lee or P. Zhao. There'll be a 24-hour curfew. The only reason he needs to leave his house is court, lawyer, medical. Also, let's see, no working at massage parlors, visiting massage parlors, or anything to do with massage parlors or spas. He have an ankle monitor paid for by him with that 24-hour curfew. Let's see, no using social media or any communications app, as in WhatsApp. Where's he going to live?
The address I've got for him, Your Honor, is in Fulton County. But he'll live wherever Your Honor tells him to. The address I've got is 1006 Applegate Drive in Roswell, 30076.
All right, and he has to surrender his passport if he has one to you. I think no social media. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. So it'll be 50, 50, and 30, Mr. Dukes. 50, 50, and 30, good bond. Thank you, Mr. Poole. Wave your hand if you are Donique Willard. There we go. Keep your head up, sir. All right, Bostic, this is position 14 and 15. There you go, Ms. Goodman. We got 14, 24 PI 003803. As of October the 1st, there's a $2,200 good bond. BGCSA, possession of methamphetamine, possession of drug-related objects, giving false information, law enforcement officer. 141 days without indictment. Got 24 PI 004794, 141 days without indictment. $21,000 good bond on aggravated assault, criminal trespass, and damage to property. Wow.
3 cycles in New York, 4 in Georgia, criminal trespass in 22. There's 11 counts of burglary in the second sentence, 11/20/23, 1 year confinement, 4 years probation, 23 SC 186812. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Goodman. Goodman.
That's okay, Judge. Thank you. Mr. Willer is age 31. He currently resides with his uncle, but we just got him placed with PAD into sober living of America program. He is employed. He was working with his uncle doing culinary, like assisting him with like his culinary arts. He also attended college for 2 years for culinary arts studies, and currently he's been in jail now for, as you said, 141 days. And he also has mental health issues. He has health issues, I'm sorry, which includes like diabetes. He has a heart disease, and none of this is like conducive for being in jail. He need to get his medication. We are asking that the UJR we are asking for that the UJR pretrial level 3 be reinstated for the possession of meth, the possession and use of drug-related objects, and the giving false information, especially since he's been in jail for 141 days now. And then we ask for the case ending in 4794 we ask that the aggravated assault be reduced to $15,000, and then for the criminal trespass and damage to property, we ask that that also be reduced to $1,000.
Where is he going to live? In Fulton County?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes, briefly, Judge, we request that you deny defense counsel's motions, both on positions 14 and 15. The defendant has bond in both. We believe those bonds are appropriate, given his 2023 conviction for felonies. The allegations in position 15 are serious. The victim in this case allegedly lost consciousness as a result of the strangulation. As a matter of fact, their fingerprints, the defendant left his fingerprints in connection with his hands in the allegation in this case. And so based on that, he is not a good candidate for a reduction in bond in these matters. And that's our position. Thank you, Judge.
All right, position 14 ending in 3803. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 760 Dunlop Way in Atlanta, Georgia. So I got 1500, 100, and 100. On position 15 ending in 4794. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 4872 West Park Circle. You have a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment. You have to supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. I'll do 17,000 and then 500. 17,000 and 500. No further contact with Aramus, AIRAMUS, Davenport. Common spelling for Davenport. Best of luck to you, sir. I'm pretty sure she doesn't want you talking, sir. Best of luck to you.
I'm gonna come visit you, okay? You can let me know. Okay.
All right,
Thank you, Your
ma'am.
Honor.
All right, now do I have Keith Berry?
And I'm sorry, Your Honor, is it okay if I
Yes,
could
ma'am.
maybe
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, Keith Berry, number 4, Bostic 24, PI 006 559, 76 days without indictment. No bond as of September the 9th. Ag assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, use of a firearm by a convicted felon, and criminal trespass. I'm sorry, that's a split bond of 1,000. There's 1,000 on the criminal trespass.
Hold for an FTA that's old. Well, both of the holds are old. 4 years and 6 years old. One from Toledo for weapons. Out of Ohio, there's 15 cycles. There's having a weapon in 2019, having a weapon and cocaine in 2019. DUI, O capital CWAC from 04. In Georgia, there's 15 cycles history of probation violations, FTA in 22. Louisiana, there's 1 cycle. There's okay. And then he's on probation, 20 SC 179976, Schedule 2, Schedule 4, firearm by, firearm during in 21. Then 22 SC 182 437. I think that's aggravated assault, firearm during. 1 year confinement, 5 years probation consecutive. Then there's ag assault in 23. Then probation 22 SC 184295, ag assault, family violence, 1 year confinement, 5 years probation. Nothing further.
Go ahead, Mr. Showalter.
Okay, so Keith Berry, 33 years old. His address is 2328 Gambleton Road, Atlanta, apartment C2. That is where he resides with his wife and kids. He's been in Georgia for the past 5 years, and he was previously working at Peachtree Publishing, doing warehouse work, that's forklift driving and such. They ship children's books to schools and libraries. He has a year of college from back when he was in Ohio. He has 6 kids. They live with him. They're ranging from a few months old to 13 years old. And I think I should make that 7. He tells me he's got a newborn now, 6 or 7, but one's a newborn. The wife, she has to take the baby to her work because they don't have daycares that will take somebody that's that young. They don't take newborns. And so his wife works as a healthcare provider. He However, so this goes to the difficulty. He was confiding this to me as to why he wants to get out. His wife does not drive. She's having to take Marta in the cold weather with the newborn. If he was out, he would be able to help take care of the kids and work and do that, provide for the family. And so I'm asking, especially with the holiday season coming up here, to grant him a bond, give him a low bond. I'm asking for 2,000 on the first charge, 1,000 on 2, 1,000 on 3, and a UJR on the 4th charge.
So I've got that he's allegedly shot at the victim's car. I don't know if the victim was shot or not. Ms. Rhodes, have you had contact with the victim?
Just factually, no, that isn't part of the fact pattern. The complainant was not injured.
All right. Ms. Rhodes, did you have any contact?
No, Your Honor, we did a victim locate.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes, thank you, Judge. We request that you deny defense counsel's motion. First, the state would request that this defendant stay in no bond status, will split bond status, no bond on the felonies until December 6th upon his 90 days. Unfortunately, this defendant is a multi-state felony offender, certainly an AAC recidivist here in the state of Georgia. Crimes of violence, weapons, both in the state of Ohio and here in Georgia. The defendant, unfortunately, is a danger to the victim in this case. The defendant is the danger to the community. And so, as such, Judge, on the 90th day, and he has not been indicted, state's requesting on count 1, $100,000 cash only. On counts 2 and 3, the weapons charges, $15,000 cash only, and $1,000 on the criminal trespass, for a total of $130,000 cash only. No contact. He banned from the shooting location. Certainly 24-hour curfew and any other terms and conditions the court deems appropriate in this case. But this defendant, unfortunately, has a very serious history of violence and is a danger to the community. Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Showalter, is he going to live in Fulton County?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 2343 Campbellton Road, Southwest. No further contact with Maurice Hooks and Shaman Chan, SHAMINCHAN. They have a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, and medical. Court, lawyer, and medical is the only reason you can leave your house, sir. 100,000, 20,000, 20,000, good bond. 100, 20, and 20. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth.
Your Honor, he has 4 charges. So
I'm sorry, and then 1,000 on the criminal trespass. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Not.
I don't know who's in 6 North. Who is that? Let's see. Are you?
That's Cosane Moore, Judge, in 6 North. It's listed as Nelson Rhodes' client. It's position 3. It is actually my client.
Oh, it's your client, Cosane
Yes,
Moore.
Judge.
Cosane Moore, wave your hand. All right, we got you. All right, it's 24 PI 006434, 81 days without indictment, $40,000 good bond as of October the 16th. 1 count of aggravated battery, 1 count of kidnapping. Wow.
Hossein Moore, Georgia, 15 cycles, Alabama, 2 cycles. Purchase, possession, manufacturing, old first offender, old obstruction, history of probation violation, open case 24 PI 003453, controlled substance, schedule 2, misdemeanor possession, nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Dobbs.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Moore has been in Fulton County Jail on these charges for 81 days. If released, he would reside at 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell, Georgia, with his mother, Patricia Steele. He's a lifelong resident of the at Atlanta metro area. He's lived here his whole life. He has several kids who live locally. Judge, he has caught cases in this jurisdiction before, but there's no indication from Bostic's reading of his criminal history that he is a flight risk. There's no indication from this case that he is such. I think it is overwhelmingly likely from all the indicators we have that Mr. Moore will return to court to answer these charges. It's clear in the warrant for this case, Judge, that the alleged victim did tell law enforcement that a Hispanic male was the assailant in this case. This is not an evidentiary hearing, and I'm not going to get into that any further. But I mention it just to simply state that we have something in this case that we do want to approach and get to, but we have not fully been able to because the case is still unindicted. So Mr. Moore is legally innocent, and we understand what the accusations and the charges are, but he is legally innocent and unable to assert a defense that he is eager to assert. So he asks the court to consider that. His bond currently stands with the two charges at I believe $40,000. We're asking for a reduction from that $40,000 to $15,000 aggregate. Like I stated, he'll be residing with his mother on Old Dogwood, which I believe is in Fulton County. We simply ask that if the court does put a ankle monitor condition on the bond, that it be county paid, as he is a public defender client. Thank you.
Mr. Dobbs, I have that as the incident location and the victim, Shirley Esther.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Judge. I got things mixed up there. So I guess that's the motel where the allegations are alleged to have occurred. So we assume that there will actually be a stay away order from that address, Judge. I mixed up the incident location and where he would be residing. He would actually be residing at 1301 Joseph E. Boone with his mother, Patricia Steele. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes, Judge. We request that you deny defense counsel's motion for a bond reduction in this case. And to be quite frank, I think the bond is a little light with the history of repeated violations of probation, his prior criminal history, the fact that at least 4 months prior to this incident, he was arrested for an open case back in May. And the allegations in this case are very serious and such. The bond is appropriate at this time, Judge, and we request that you deny defense counsel's motion. He essentially put the victim in an ICU, and this is serious physical injury. And so that's our position at this case, Judge. Thank you.
Any contact with the victim?
It doesn't appear so based on our notes, Your Honor. At this point in time, I think both the defendant and the victim in this prior to this may be transient or frequently move, at least in the area, based on the location of this incident. And of course, unfortunately, the victim was, and what we have in many cases, was trying to shield this defendant. And of course, the defendant, and this, we can't, litigate the case, but wasn't certainly upfront with the police in this matter. They had to investigate and saw the video as to what actually happened in this matter. And we have our charges here before you. So I'm not going to make any other allegations, but I think there's more afoot than just aggravated battery and kidnapping. But that's not for us to discuss tonight.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. No further contact with Shirley Esther, ESTHER. No further contact with your alleged co-defendant, Stephon Thomas, STEPHON. Stay away from 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell, Georgia. Let's see, you have a 24-hour curfew, sir. Court, lawyer, medical is the only reason you need to leave your house. Court, lawyer, medical. So 25,000, 14,000. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Mr. Jenkins, everybody, all rise. We have Judge Robert McBurney here. Judge McBurney.
Judge McBurney, good evening, actually. Now,
The Judge McBurney who did serve one night on night court.
That's right. I had the
Well,
honor and
that's
the
it.
privilege, and I don't mean to interrupt proceedings. I see there's still several gentlemen at ACDC and someone at Marietta Annex, but I did want to express the appreciation and the admiration of the entire Superior Court bench for the continued work that we have received from all our partners. Judge Manning spearheading it from the bench. We've got folks from the sheriff's office in all the facilities. We have public defenders and prosecutors. We've got people from pretrial and probation, et cetera, all of whom give of their time beyond the regular hours to make this work. The efforts of night court have reduced backlogs and have, for people who were appropriately qualified, they've obtained their liberty sooner, which is what we all ought to be focused on. Anyone sitting in jail right now on new charges is there with the presumption of innocence in their favor. That doesn't mean that bond is automatic, but it certainly means it's dialogue that we ought to have frequently and or at least soon after they go into custody. And your efforts have enabled that to happen. So it's refreshing to see someone as senior as Mr. Jenkins giving of his time and all the as I said, prosecutors and public defenders. This is above and beyond. I know you don't get overtime, but this has been a phenomenal piece of work over many, many, many months, and it has made a significant difference in our ability to move cases forward. Tonight is the final night. If I could, I would pass virtually a glass of champagne to each of you, except for those you in custody, not allowed to have that. But should you get released tonight, it would be one on me if you made it to the local bar, assuming Judge Manning gave you a condition where you're allowed to go to a bar. Make sure you comply with your conditions. But I just want to thank everyone. I see we've got someone from Court Watch on here. I hope you spread the word, Ms. Robinson or Mr. Robinson, that night court is a pretty special project where we get people to work after hours with a focus on making sure we're paying attention to due process. And that doesn't mean everyone should get a bond, but it means people should be heard on that important question. And you all have made that possible. Thank you, Ms. Lewis and Ms. Gaston, for shepherding all this along and for making it possible.
Is that even a thank you to Bostic, though, Judge McBurney?
Hey, I want to thank everyone, and I appreciate it. Definitely Bostic, but we couldn't do it without all these different pieces. And I know the sheriff's not even allowed to pay overtime anymore. So I don't know what we call it, comp time or something like that. But you are all appreciated. A colleague of mine meant to be here as well, but is late. You guys should be not at work right now, and you are. And thank you for that. It is not unnoticed. And this has been super important. I won't repeat myself anymore. I'll just wish you the best. If I can ever help with anything, let me know. My court's usually closed by 5, but I'm here in my office. So I look forward to working with some of you in the future. Thank you, Judge Manning, for letting me interrupt. I know you guys have a few more things to do, and I don't mean to make you even later. But I did want you to hear from our bench our message of gratitude and appreciation.
That's okay. From what I understand, though, Judge McBurney, we're still going to be done sooner than you were the night that you filled in.
Well, I never promise to move as efficiently as you. You know, I am long-winded, and it's hard for me to make decisions, but you guys did great. And thank you, Mrs. Robinson, for making it clear where you fall on that spectrum. All right, everyone, I'm checking out. I'm gonna go pick up my kid from baseball practice, but thank you for what you do.
All right, Judge. Take care.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, Judge.